Good afternoon, everyone. Today's subject is web technologies and its application. We are going to understand about HTML tables. Introduction. Myself, Abhimanyu Pal, 1B20CS001. I'll be faculty for today's section. The goal of our section is to know about HTML table and varieties of styles used in tables. Today's agenda. What is HTML table? Various styles used in table. Let us begin with our section. What is HTML table? HTML tables are a way to display data in rows and columns on a web page. Tables are a very useful and tool for organizing and representing complex information such as product listing, financial reports, and schedules. To create an HTML table, you first need to use the table tag. Inside a table tag, you can use various other tags to create rows and columns, such as tr for table row and td for table cells. So let us see the example of HTML table. Table tr td row 1 column 1 td close td row 2 column 2 td close tr td row 2 column 1 td close td row 2 column 2 td close, and finally we are closing tr, and lastly table tag is closed. So the output of the code can be seen in the right side of our slide. This code will create a table with 2 rows and 2 columns. Each cell in the table is defined using td tag. You can also use th tag to create table headers. Table can be styled using CSS to change the font, color, and background of the table and its cells. You can also add borders and padding to the table and its cell to make it easier to read and navigate. The various styles used in tables: HTML table borders, HTML table size, HTML table headers, HTML table padding and spacing, HTML table call span and row span. So let us know about HTML table borders. HTML table borders refer to the lines that outline each cell in a table. Borders can help to improve the appearance and readability of table on a web page, making it easier for user to distinguish between rows and columns, as you can see in the image. So let us see the code for HTML table borders. Table border is equals to 1 tr td row 1 column 1 td close td row 1 column 2 td close tr td row 2 column 1 td close td row 2 column 2 td close tr close, and finally we are closing our table tag. In this example, the border attribute is set to 1, which will add a 1 pixel border around each cell in the table. You can adjust the value of the border attribute to increasing or decreasing the thickness of the border. So let us know about HTML table sizes. HTML tables can be customized in terms of size to better fit the content they contain. There are different ways to adjust the size of an HTML table, including setting the width and height of the table and its cells. Here is an example of HTML table size. HTML table size code. Style td width 100 pixel, height 50 pixel, style close table open, tr td row 1 column 1 td close td row 1 column 2 td close tr, and following is the content of the table. Finally we are closing the table by using /table row 1, and here is the output for the code in the right side of our slide. In this example, the width property is set to 100 pixel and height property is set to 50 pixel for each cell. This will make each cell 100 pixel width and 50 pixel height. Now let us see HTML table headers. In HTML, table headers are used to identify the contents in the columns or rows of a table. They help to organize the data and make it easier to read and understand. HTML provides several elements that can be used to create table headers. th element. This element is used to define header cell in a table. It is similar to td element, but it is used specifically for headers. Here is an example for HTML table headers. So let us see the code for HTML table headers. Table tr th first name, th close th last name, th close th email, tr close, and following is the content of table. And finally we are closing the table tag. Here is an output in the right side of our slide, where first name, last name, and email are in bold letters specifying their header of the table. In this example, the first row of the table contains header cells created using the th element. The header cell identifies the content of the column. The remaining rows contain data cell creating using the td element. Now let us know about HTML table padding and spacing. Using the padding and spacing property in HTML table can help to create a more visually appealing organized content by adjusting the amount of space between cells and their borders. You can create a more readable and easy to understand table. Here is an example where the table is with padding and also with spacing. HTML table padding and spacing. Here we are seeing HTML padding. The code is the style table padding 10 pixel, td padding 5 pixel, td dot first padding left 10 pixel, style close, and following is the content of the table, and finally we are closing the table tag. Here the output is in the middle of the slide where cell 1, cell 2, cell 3, cell 4 can be seen. Padding. The padding property specifies the amount of space between the content of a cell and its border. You can set the padding for the entire table for a specific cell or for a specific side of a cell. In this example, the padding property is set to 10 pixels for the entire table, which will create a space between the table and its border. The padding property is also set to 5 pixels for each cell, which will create a space between the content of the cell and its border. The padding left property is set to 10 pixels for the cell with the first class, which will create a large space between the content of the cell and its left border. So let us know about table padding. Table spacing. Style table border space 10 pixel, td border 1 pixel black solid black, style close, and following is the content of the table, and finally we are closing the table by using /table. The output of the code can be seen in the middle part of the slide where the spacing property specifies the amount of space between adjacent cells in a table. You can set the spacing for the entire table or for specific cell. In this example, the border space property is set to 10 pixels for the entire table, which will create a space between adjacent cells. The borders property is set to 1 pixel black for each cell, which will create a border for each cell. So now let us know about HTML table call span and row span. Using call span and row span attribute can be useful when you want to create a table with cells that span multiple columns or rows. It helps to specify the layout of the table and make easier to read and understand. Here is an example of a table call span and row span. Now let us know about table call span. So the attribute specifies the number of columns that a cell should span. It is known as call span. So the code is table tr td cell 1 td call span is equals to cell 2 and cell 3 td close tr, and following the content of the table, and finally we are closing the table by using /table. The output of the code can be seen in the middle part of the slide, and in this example the second cell in the first row has a call span attribute of 2, which means it should span 2 columns. As a result, it will occupy the space of the second and third cell in that row. Now let us know about row span of the table. Here, the row span. This attribute specifies the number of rows that a cell should span. So let us see the code. Table tr td row span is equal to cell 1 and 4 td close td cell 2 /td td cell 3 /td tr close, and following is the content of this table, and finally we are closing the table by using /table. The output of the row span code can be seen in the middle part of the slide. In this example, the first cell in the first row has a row span attribute of 2, which means it should span 2 rows. As a result, it will occupy the space of first cell in the second row as well. So let us conclude our section. Here, in conclusion, HTML tables are a powerful and flexible tool for representing data in a structured and organized way on a web page. With tables, you can create rows and columns of data, add borders, adjacent space, merge cells, and also apply styles to improve the visual appearance of your content. Thank you. Have a nice day.